Everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Rivian. Rivian's valuation is starting to make sense. A new article by Forbes. Let's get an understanding of what they exactly mean. The electric vehicle maker Rivian's strategic shift aims to expand market reach and improve financial stability. While the valuation improves, it's not yet a bargain. Rivian's aim to reach a wider audience with new, lower price models and optimize production to improve capital efficiency, potentially saving over $2 billion US dollars. Now, despite the significant financial challenges and operational losses, Rivian's valuation is becoming more aligned with market reality, although it remains higher than industry average, with a reservation count of 68,000 units for the new R2 model. Rivian shows strong market interest, suggesting potential for positive growth in coming quarters. Over the past year, Rivian Automotive and many other electric vehicle makers, including Tesla, they've experienced a slowdown in growth as reality has set in. Consumer demand for electric vehicles have not been as strong as initially anticipated, compounded by the inherent competition within the EV market. The hype around electric vehicles has indeed waned, as evidenced by Rivian's share price dropping nearly 90% to around $10, compared to $130 per share when it was debuted as a publicly traded company 3 years ago. Can you believe it's been 3 years since Rivian has gone public? That's incredible. It's kind of difficult to believe. So, of course, today Rivian stands in a very interesting position with the share price being $10.79 and 10.8 billion in market cap, almost 10.9 billion to be exact. So despite the share price falling quite drastically, don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with cheap shares. I'll never complain about having cheap shares. But it's one thing that we can have a look at is the rising revenue. The revenue has been kicking. It's been rising quite impressively. That's the understatement of the year for Rivian. Now, this puts Rivian in quite an interesting situation due to their deliveries, and it's quite impressive. Total production of vehicles, almost 14,000. It's exactly 13,980 vehicles that were built, up 49% year-over-year growth. The total delivery was actually 13,588. That was up 71% year-over-year. That again is very impressive. So if you look at a bit more data, Rivian EV production quarterly. So 2024 is in red, 2023 is last year in blue, and 2022 is in white. So of course, this is the production. They did really incredible last year. You know, since 2022, 2023, Rivian has been doing absolutely terrific, I must say. And this figure continues into 2024. You can clearly see the company is already off to a wonderful start with 2024. Keep in mind, last year in 2023 in Q1, they delivered 7,946. That's incredible for last year. However, this year, they delivered 13,588. That's incredible. In fact, that's almost doubled what they delivered last year. Almost doubled. So what can we expect from Rivian in Q2? What can we expect in Q3 and Q4 going forward? Now, as it turns out, last year in Q3 was Rivian's best performing month in terms of delivery. We can probably expect something quite similar this year. The most amount of deliveries will probably come in Q3 or in Q4. It's usually Q4 for a lot of vehicles, but the market can be unpredictable, seriously. So it can be, you can't really predict it sometimes. But Q4, Q3, we expect those months to be much better than they did last year. And if they can do 71% this year in increased deliveries, what could they do in Q2, Q3, and Q4? Could we hit 15,000 deliveries in Q2? Could we hit 20,000 deliveries in Q4 or Q3? That's the real question. Can we hit 20,000 deliveries in Q3 or Q4? We're probably not quite there yet, but also I wouldn't be surprised if Rivian delivered 20,000 vehicles in Q3 or Q4. Here's why. Because they're literally, I would say, 7,500 away, less than 7,500 away to hitting 20,000 in Q1. They were that close. So it begs the question, It's definitely possible for Q3 or Q4. They delivered over 15,000 in Q3 last year, 15,000 and a half. That's 4,500 away, approximately, of course. So that's definitely possible this year. So can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? What we're expecting from Rivian to do this year would be incredible. Could they deliver 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 vehicles this year? That's absolutely incredible. And they only have two vehicles, two very expensive vehicles. What happens when this company introduced the more affordable Rivians? The Rivian R2, the Rivian R3, the Rivian R3X. These would be a bit more affordable and they'll be a bit more, to the likes of what I like to drive. I would like an R3X, that'd be terrific. Even an R2 would be great as well. The R1 vehicles, those are heavy duty vehicles, but also incredibly expensive. They're out of my price range by a long shot. But Rivian's more affordable vehicles, they're certain, to have a positive impact on this company. If they can already accomplish almost 100,000 vehicles delivery in a year with just two vehicles in the US and Canada, I think, what could they accomplish worldwide? 5 to 10 years. What could this company accomplish worldwide? I don't think y'all are ready for this, but I am. I'm excited for Rivian. And just to end on this note, Rivian built over 57,000 vehicles last year in 2023. They sold 50,000 vehicles last year in 2023. This is what I mean. It is not out of the question for them to sell 80, 90,000 vehicles this year. It's not out of the question. In fact, it's what we're expecting, if I'm being completely honest. And you can see something quite interesting as well. If you look at the data here from Inside EVs, the EV productions are in black, the EV deliveries are in yellow. Rivian often builds more than they are sold. And this is something that happens in all electric vehicle manufacturer today. No one is selling out all the EVs. They're not outselling their production, not anymore. So Rivian actually has a surplus of EV after they've made their deliveries. However, I think this might be a good thing for Rivian because the moment they come to the European region, they're gonna have vehicles available to sell ready. They shouldn't be short on production, especially with the upgrades they've done to their recent factory, especially to the next factory that they're working on. They shouldn't have much problems when it comes to production and demand. It seems like they have the right amount of demand and the right amount of production right now. And of course, on another positive note is just how incredible this company is doing. Last year, ladies and gents, Q1 was obviously a tricky start. They only delivered around 7,500 vehicles. So the revenue, 661 million. But Q2, 1.1 billion. Q3, 1.3 billion. And Q4, 1.3 billion. However, now we've just passed Q1 of 2024. You compare that with Q1 of last year. Essentially, they've almost doubled their revenue. They've almost doubled their revenue. Almost. Remember now, I said almost doubled their revenue in the first quarter of this year compared to last year. That's very, very impressive. So clearly, Rivian is not just selling more vehicles this year in Q1, but they've also found a clever way to make more money based on each vehicle that's being sold. This is called optimization. This is called efficiency. Manufacturing efficiency, product efficiency, sales efficiency. If you can bring your efficiency, the higher your efficiency, the more income you can generate. The more revenues you can generate, the more you can pull from revenue stream. Insufficient and, you're just not very good at getting these things done. Things are often incomplete, then that leads to higher prices of manufacturing these vehicles. And that's terrible for everyone. That's terrible for Rivian and that's terrible for the buyers because often they buy something that is overpriced and it loses a ton of value in the first months or first day or first years. It just loses too much value too quickly. And this is bad for Rivian because it will cost them a lot more to build. So you can see that optimizing for efficiency, it really leads to greater returns for investors and for the overall companies. I hope this makes sense, to be honest. So those are all the positive things that are coming out of Rivian, of course. But Forbes has to say, despite reporting figures below Wall Street expectation, Rivian produced 13,980 vehicles and delivered 13,580, remaining on pace for the annual target of 57,000. Annual target of 57,000. I remember this. I'm sorry, ladies and gents, I remember this. Rivian's annual targets for this year were incredibly low. But why would it be 57,000 if they delivered 50,000 last year? This seems like they are not even trying. So here it's with one of the statements from April the 2nd. Production and delivery results during the first quarter of 2024 were in line with Rivian's expectations. For the full year of 2024, management is reaffirming guidance for an annual production of 57,000 total vehicles. I remember this is not the first time I've seen these figures being this low, but I wonder why was the reason? Because I know they've spent a lot of time making upgrades on their existing factory. However, how have they managed to do this and still delivered over 13,000 vehicles? The Rivian should be ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule, in fact. So here's some additional information. Economical and geopolitical. So here's some additional information on this. Here's some additional information on this. Economic and geopolitical uncertainty and pressures, most notably the impact of historic high interest rates, have informed Rivian expectations for 2024. With these market conditions, the company expects to produce 57,000 vehicles in 2024. In line with 2023 production, for 2024, the company guidance towards capital expenditure 1.75 billion and an adjusted EBITDA of 2.7 billion or 2,700 million. Rivian will continue its company-wide cost transformation program, which to date has resulted in a meaningful reduction in total costs for both the R1 and EDV models through engineering design changes, commercial cost down, and manufacturing efficiency. Today, Rivian also announces it's reducing its salary workforce for approximately 10%. So essentially what I just read was essentially what I was saying. They've managed to make more money per vehicles they're selling because they've optimized for manufacturer efficiency, just like they've highlighted in their article. They've managed to bring commercial costs down, made design changes using the brilliance of engineering, of course. This alone have put them on a positive step. It really has for Rivian. But it still doesn't answer my question. Why the low figures for 2024? Why only 57,000 vehicles? We're expecting 80,000, 90,000. That's what I'm expecting. We know they can do it, but do they still have more upgrades and updates that they need to carry out on their manufacturing plant? Is this why they will have a slowdown in deliveries? But the start of the year was not slow for Rivian. But it's possible that Rivian probably had a lot of leftover inventory from 2023, and they've decided to use those inventories to make a lot of deliveries in 2024 Q1. That could be it. So despite the production plant being shut down for upgrades and, reconfiguration, they probably just had a lot of inventory and they just sold them in Q1. So I hope this made sense. But it still doesn't give me the definitive understanding of what I'm looking for. So here are some additional information. Rivian lost $38,000 per vehicle delivered in Q1. Is Rivian stock a buy or sell? I probably need to look at this article in another video. Probably not today, but another video. But if anyone out there knows why this year delivery expectation, the annual targets of 57,000, if you know why it's so low, let me know. Because 58,000 is low. That's only 7,000 more than they delivered last year. And as far as I'm aware, I believe the manufacturing plant is fully opened again, and they're ramping up production once again. So is it the case that Q2 deliveries and production, it will just be incredibly low and continue into Q3 and Q4? This is possible, but I do need some clarity. So if there's anyone out there with some useful information, leave it in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to our newsletter. There's also a link in the description below. But that is it for today's video. So thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.